Yeah, that's what I was coming up here for. Yeah, no, I can.
Okay.
We're live on, we're streaming, by the way, everyone, so.
Okay, and the sound is
On
on?
too, so,
Okay.
yep, sounds on.
Good.
Just FYI.
I'm gonna pray, but before that, I'm gonna do one order of business here, just real fast, a point of clarification. Our constitution and bylaws stipulate that to vote in a voters meeting, you have to have previously attended a voters meeting and not missed more than 3 in a row, correct?
Okay, I know what you're gonna say, so go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah.
so in continuing with our pandemic protocols, we are considering that basically everybody has attended the voters meeting because we've offered them virtually and we can't go to your house and pull up your internet history, all right? And plus we realize that there are people that have health concerns and things like that. So I just want to let everybody know that we're legal. Everybody's legal. Yeah, okay. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this day. We give you thanks for the gifts and joys set before us in Jesus Christ. We give you thanks that we get to take out your love, your name, and proclaim it to all in our community that we face, not jail or anything like that, but we are able to worship and gather freely and in free assembly. Help us to share your love with our neighbor. Help us to put the best construction on everything as we meet in voters' meetings. Help us to always love you, to stay in the faith, to proclaim that faith to the world. In Christ's name, amen. Amen. My part's done.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to call to order the third voters meeting for Christ Lutheran Church. Our normal August quarterly voters meeting is now called to order. And we've had our opening prayer. And I want to thank everyone for coming out today. This is a very good turnout. I know there are people watching online. Those voting members who are watching online, would you please let our congregation secretary know that you attended virtually, and she will mark you present. I kind of made an executive decision on that. And Glenda will take that information, or you can let me know. In accordance with our bylaws, I want to present our new voting members. It's just sort of a point of business. We received new members back the last 18 months. And so if you don't mind, in the ability that now as we corporately meet again, if I call your name as a new member, if you'll raise your hand, it just gives us another opportunity to see your faces and learn your names. So we welcome into the voting membership, and you may vote today, the new members that we've received since over the last 18 months. Gary and Rachel Clifton, Eldon and Gay Coral, Robert Stacy. Did he get to stay? I know he was at church. Okay. Did Robert?
He should be. Is Doug here? No, maybe Doug took him home.
Okay. Hal and Paula Baroriak. Did Hal get to stay? Okay. Betty Withers. Charlene Truman. Dave and Dolores Withers. Bob and Robin Anderson. And our pastor, Pastor Daniel Ross and his family, Heidi, Henry, and Daisy, who are a little too young to vote yet, but Heidi and Pastor can vote now. So we welcome you to voting membership. John.
Do we need to approve the minutes from, I see from the previous voters meeting that we approved the minutes from the last meeting. Do we need to do that?
That's going to be I wanted to be able to include them to vote on the passage of the minutes, so I did that first. And we will move now into our officer reports, starting with our secretary, Glenda Berry, who will read the minutes from the May voters meeting. Glenda. You want to stand? No.
President Alan Danielson presided. Recording secretary Glenda Berry was present. The meeting was called to order at 10:25 a.m. Pastor Daniel Ross opened the meeting with prayer. The voters' meeting minutes from February the 28th, 2021 were reviewed Motion was made by Gary Stowers and seconded by Dolores Halsey to approve the minutes as written. The motion carried. President's update. The church is beginning to open back up. We plan to have VBS this summer. The LWML and Men's Club have started meeting, and the choir will begin to meet soon. There are board reports from stewardship, trustees, and treasurer available. Alan asked for a motion to accept these updates. Gary Stowers motioned to accept the updates, and Don Tidholm seconded. The motion carried. Pastor Ross advised he will begin a seminar in the fall called Shepherding Our Sheep, a program by Synod. It begins with Sunday morning Bible study, followed by a couple of additional days for training sessions. Basically, it teaches people not only how to listen, but also reach out to those who have not been in church for a while. It was originally created to reach out to members who have fallen away, but Synod feels it is easily adaptable for coming out of the pandemic. Synod will send us the material at no charge, but we need to know how much to obtain. A sign-up sheet will be posted. Just because members participate in the training does not mean they have to be involved in calling people, knocking on doors, etc. You can come for the training and have that skill set if you want. It is mandatory that the elders go through the class, and pastor will meet with the elders first. There are probably 5 to 6 total sessions, including a video. Election of officers. Alan thanked the nominating committee, which consisted of Elaine Jordan, Dorothy Prophet, Pastor Ross, Diana Ritter, and Alan. They have been working on the ballot for the last 15 months, gathering names for the positions of president and vice president. The people on the ballot have been asked and accepted these nominations. The position of vice president will be a 1-year term because we got off on years as the position of vice president was empty for a year. The nominee for president, Elaine Jordan, and vice president, David Withers, were unable to be present due to family commitments. Diana Ritter has agreed to accept the position of treasurer. A vote was taken and results tabulated. The ballot was unanimously accepted. Installation of officers will take place on May 30. Elaine Jordan will assume the presidency as of June the 1st, with Dave Withers as vice president. Diana Ritter will assume the position of treasurer auditor and will also continue on the board of young people. Asha Winter will continue to chair the board of fellowship, and Sue Wright will continue to chair the board of parish education. Other. Shirley Clark inquired about the status of the phone tree, and Alan explained it was still being researched. At that time, Pastor Ross requested Alan Danielson, Alan Winter, Ivy Douglas, Diana Ritter, and Shannon Brown to come forward. Certificates were presented, and the group thanked for going above and beyond these past 15 months. Dolores Withers, Elaine Jordan, Danny Brown, and Heidi Ross will also receive certificates, but were unable to be present today. A motion to adjourn was made by Sue Wright and seconded by Gary Stowers. The motion carried. Closing prayer. The meeting was closed with prayer led by Pastor Ross.
Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes as they were read?
Motion to accept.
John? I'm sorry, I'm recognizing you. John? Go ahead, state your motion, I'm sorry.
I motion to accept the minutes as read.
The motion has been made to accept the minutes. Is there a second?
I second.
Vic has seconded the motion. So the motion is made and seconded to adopt and accept the minutes as they were read by Glenda today. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion has carried to accept the minutes. Thank you, Glenda. Diana, treasurer's report.
You should have picked up 3 pages that would be basically the treasurer's report of our income to date and expenses through the end of July. I would suggest when you've had time to look it over, if you have any questions, you can email me and I'll be happy to address your questions. There is one other bit of business. We're trying to evaluate our need for contribution envelopes. We seem to not be using the envelopes the way we have in the past. A lot of people are either giving online or by texting or having their bank mail payments directly to the church, and we aren't using the number of envelopes we have been. Yes?
Whenever there's commentary on that topic, I have a suggestion or comment. I didn't want to interrupt you, Brett, just on, if there's discussion on that point. I'll let you finish your report.
Okay. And so we would like everybody to at least, send us an email, get in touch with us somehow, let us know if you would intend to use the envelopes or not, so that we can kind of judge what we should order. Okay.
Comments, Shannon?
And I have commentary on that topic. Pam and I just finished counting, and I've just been counting for going on 30 years now. It makes the counting process, Pam and I are done, we finished in 20 minutes, and the use of those offering envelopes is a huge, huge aid in counting quickly. I think we would be back there a lot longer, because you have to write down every loose check. So, and I think we only had 4 loose checks, and then a big old stack of envelopes. So for people that do come in person and put them in the offering plate, it does help the counting process go quickly. Now, I don't know what the cost is for that, but it does help a lot for the counters to have, because you can run a tape on the envelopes, run a tape on the checks, they match, you're good. It's easy for Nellie to do the data entry based on an envelope. That's just my opinion and 2 cents on the matter.
And for clarification, the online offerings don't go through the counters.
Yeah, they don't go through the counters, that goes straight
So
to
it's not like,
Nellie.
how do I
Right.
balance online giving
Right.
with an envelope?
Right.
We don't touch
Yeah.
that as counters. So. Any questions for Shannon? Any questions, Diana?
I would ask that you get with Nellie then and kind of work something out with her, because she's the one that brought it to my attention.
Okay.
That we have a lot of unused stuff back there. So maybe you could talk to her and come up with a middle road where we're not over ordering.
Sure, and maybe we order just for the people that really, really use them instead of, over ordering. Yeah,
Right.
that's a great idea.
Did I see a hand over here at all? Pastor?
I just wanted to mention that one of the things that it does come in handy is for the counters, they aren't privy with those people that use envelopes, privy to what's been given. And I think that's important to some people, and so it just needs to be mentioned.
Or who that envelop
Yeah.
correlates with
Yeah,
name-wise.
well, you don't
There's-
remember the numbers,
No.
and
Right,
you all are
yeah.
going through so fast.
Yeah, we're looking at amounts matching.
Yeah.
And if you, as new members, have you received your offering envelopes?
We did.
Okay, good, perfect. Okay, so that's,
Can we run it?
we're all about stewardship and the best use of resources, so if we can cut out extra and overuse and misuse and no use, that's what we're after, so. Okay, any other questions on the treasurer's budget? Or on the budget presented by the treasurer? Is there a motion then to accept the treasurer's report? Charlene?
I move to accept the treasurer's report as given.
Okay, there's a motion to accept the treasurer's report as given. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, she said it first, I guess. Dolores Withers has seconded the motion. So the motion's been made and seconded to accept the treasurer's report. All those, is there any discussion? Got my parliamentarian. Any discussion? No discussion. Seeing no discussion, the motion is to accept the treasurer's report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The treasurer's report is accepted. Dave, would you like to give your vice president's report? And frankly, if you just want to touch the high points, that's fine, because I
think
know time is of the essence and you've got the report in front of you.
Okay. I had a little project to do. So on the back of the outline, you can see that my report's there about the ordination celebration that we held on August 1st. And main idea of this is being in a rather unique position of having 3 pastors here in the congregation. So, and they were all ordained in the month of July. So I included some facts and figures on there. Please note, 81 years of total ministry. So if you need help, I mean, you know, somewhere in that 81 years, you can find somebody that can help you through a tough time, you know. So let's see, I learned of this at the newcomers potluck. So being assigned a bit, Elaine and I decided, you know, how about another potluck? So hopefully you're not tired of potlucks, but that seemed like something we could put together with about a month preparation. And I guess most of us attended that. So hopefully it went over well. And I guess that bottom statement that I have there speaks for itself.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, we don't need to accept that report. It's not official, so we'll move on. In conjunction with the bylaws, we are tasked, I am tasked with appointing 2 communicant members of the congregation to do an internal review of our treasury and our books and our financial records. So I will be doing that in the next week or so, approaching a couple of you to audit that process. And then our intent is, after that internal audit, we will find an outside auditor who will review the findings of the internal audit. We talked about this in church council, and it is in the bylaws. So part of the cycle of getting a new treasurer exhorts us to do an audit. And so that's, we're all at church council in agreement that that's a good idea. Not that we didn't think anything was amiss, but it's always a good idea just to see if we have any weaknesses in the system. And then the second point that I have to bring up is that there's been talk among the elders, I've talked about it, Vic has talked about it, to update the bylaws. They've been around for quite a while. They're a little wordy, bulky, and sometimes are challenging to meet every bit of those bylaws. So we're going to be launching a bylaws committee and updating the bylaws. So if you're a board chair, you might want to take a look at your bylaws, and feel free to contact Vic, who I believe is sort of, you're already the head of that bylaw committee, and say, this is a really good thing to have, this isn't necessary. So that's going to be ongoing. Any voting of the bylaws, though, will take place in a voters meeting. Nothing will be changed without a vote and review from the voters. Pastor?
I believe our bylaws, just like our Constitution, have to be approved by the Oklahoma district before we can vote on it. That's how we went through once before.
The bylaws, I think that the way our bylaws were written was that it goes through just the church council, and voters can change the bylaws. Constitution has to go to the Senate. That's the first 7 pages, I believe, of the Constitution and bylaws. It's 7 or 8. Those. The first part is what the Senate says we have to follow to be an LCMS church. And the other part is the church can review, update. Then we just turn it in just more of an FYI for the district to have, that we change that part. That's just more of your internal business workings of the church.
We asked Butch, and he told us that the district doesn't have to pass on by law.
If we were to update, a major update, we definitely want to just FYI let them know. So.
Any other questions about any of that? Okay, that's the president's report then. Pastor, do you have a pastor's report?
I probably should. I'm a little tired. Just a couple of things is that obviously we're going full tilt right now. Danny and I text almost daily. Danny's head elder. We're keeping an eye on COVID numbers and all that. Elders have discussed it. Let's go 45 minutes, an hour discussing it. Last elders meeting. So it's very much in the forefront of our minds. We got some church things coming up. Again, the Shepherd in Our Sheep is coming up. October 9th, Holy Trinity has reached out to us and asked if we would like to participate with their Shine On event that they put on every year. They're looking to partner with other churches, and us and Kingfisher are the first two ones that they reached out to. This is a day of service. Currently their format is, I believe, they meet at Holy Trinity at 8 or 9 a.m. Saturday morning, eat breakfast, and then go out to the various locations that they're doing stuff. They eat lunch on site, and they get back to Holy Trinity sometime after 2:30. I think there might be some festivities and things like that happen after that. So I would like for us to be a part of that, so look for more information on that. I'm going to talk with them and see if maybe like we could just meet here for the morning instead of having to drive up all the way up there and then go someplace and meet there in the afternoon or whatever. The one issue is that I have a niece getting married in Tulsa that day. Actually, the whole reason I was up there was the shower was up there, so I was watching kids and then went to the Tulsa, the Villers game that night. So I won't actually be here on the 9th, but I think it's very important to do. So anyway, more information will be coming out about that. Just put a bug in Sue's ear. We're going to be trying to plan some sort of trunk or treat this year, whether it's just outdoor only or whatnot, but kind of getting back out in the community and things like that. We've had a lot of visitors. We've had a lot of people coming back to church that haven't been to church in a number of years. I don't know if council hears this all the time, elders hear this all the time, but people that haven't been at church in 3, 4, 5 years. When everything got locked down, they didn't have a church to go to. They started watching online, and now they're back in person, which is very good, and kind of, I think, gives us a little bit more energy on the shepherding our sheep. As far as, I don't want to overstep, Board of Human Care, the people that come and use the food bank is, it ebbs and flows. I usually get a few more calls around the 15th and the end of the month, but sometimes it's 3 weeks and nobody calls, and sometimes I'm grabbing 6 bags in a single day. It just kind of happens. So they've been doing a great job on that, but there's definitely a need in the community still for, and always will be, for helping people with things of that nature. Are there any questions or concerns or comments? And then there was one other thing. I've been meaning to put this in the bulletin. We recently gained the ability to easily insert TLH hymns into the service. You might have noticed that in the past few weeks. So if you have a favorite TLH hymn, please let me know, and I'll try to work it in, as long as the organists know how to play it. But if you have a favorite TLH hymn that's not an LSB, let me know, just because we have roughly 400 more hymns that we can add to our worship service now, which is really good for me, because I didn't grow up singing hymns, so most of the stuff is usually new to me. And I can tell when it's new to you. All right, that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Do you take other hymn requests that are not in those books?
I can, but they're a lot harder to put in. And then the other thing is we have to have license. So if it's not in a CPH hymnal, and if it's not covered by CCLI, we don't have license to it. And the issue with CCLI is if it's more modern music, we only have a limited number of musicians that know how to play that music, and so we have to make sure that they're available and they can play that song. So, but yes.
But you can suggest.
Yeah, you can.
Any
Everybody
other
can
questions?
suggest anything.
Yes.
All right, that's all I got.
Thank you, Pastor. Let's move into the administrative board reports, beginning with the elders. Danny? And again, just rise, please, and so you can be heard and and seen.
Oh.
And
so
yeah.
I have submitted just a written report there. I will look at it over
Basically just, Alan Winters did step down, and I was, I became selected as head elder. And so, but Alan, is remaining as an elder, along with also, Alan Danielson was also, brought in as an elder to help, serve our members. I do have the new members, which Elaine already alluded to earlier. We are, if you haven't noticed, we have the large print bulletins in there too. More people have recognized them and started to utilize them, so it's helped those that need the larger print. Today, all but one were taken, so we've gone from 2 or 3 to 4 to 5, now 9 were used this morning, which is great. So we're going to continue doing that. We've already discussed the bylaws. The headphones, today we ran out. There were 2 extra people asking for them today. So we are looking at replacing our assisted hearing devices in here. So right now we're set with 4, but we had at least 6 today that let us know that they were looking for them. So we're going to move on that pretty quickly, or as quick as we can on that, but looking at some of those options. There has been more discussions about screens and projectors to be able to use that in our worship, and yes.
Oh, I just have a word on that one.
You bet.
Okay. If you look in your budgets,
The special funds.
special funds, we do have just shy of $13,000 for that purpose, so we'll be, if you know of good audiovisual companies, because I only know of 4 audiovisual for Oklahoma City. If you know of any, let us know. The more quotes we get, the better, and hopefully that will be enough. But we've also used this in the upgrading of the technology and things like that, and probably some of this money will have to go towards hearing devices, because those aren't cheap as well. But anyway, we do have a good base, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes. Then, so projectors and screens, headphones, that's some of the upgrades for technology that we're looking into. And then Pastor's talked about the Shine On service event, and then Shepherding Our Sheep, and then a couple of dates that he will be. We'll have a vacancy pastor fill in for that. Pastor.
Thank you, Danny. Any questions for Danny on the elders report? We're going to vote on this all together at the end, so we're not going to ask for that on each report. On evangelism, the 2 things quickly I want to draw your attention to on that report is that we are participating in the Mustang Western Days Parade. Cassie Danielson has accepted the request to chair for that event. You had a meeting. Would you like to just briefly talk about that? The theme for this year's reboot? Go ahead.
So the theme is reboot. We met the other night. We kind of have a basic plan. We have a truck, we have a trailer, we have a cross, we have some items, we have a budget. I applied for the Thrivent Action Team funds, that got accepted, so I'm waiting on that gift card, however much they end up sending us, and the t-shirts that they'll send us. And I don't think we're gonna technically have another meeting, but we will need volunteers the day of, which is September 11th. And then we're gonna drop the trailer off at Doug's for him to start constructing the week of. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Yes.
I just want to say one other thing. Sorry, this reminded me of this. We have a proud history of placing in Western Days with our float. I found 5 or 6 or more plaques in there: 1st place, 2nd place, 3rd place for churches. So we have to live up to our history, that's all I'm saying. So let us help out, let's do this.
No pressure.
No pressure, because we're gonna need a lot more volunteers.
No, I'm not
And we're gonna need a different trailer.
I'm asking for volunteers. I'm asking for volunteers as we reboot.
No pressure on me.
Christ Lutheran's Western Day Parade float.
I think we have a new parade
leader. Bring all your ideas. But that's where we're at right now.
Okay, thank you, Cassie. And then the second thing is that Shannon approached the board with a proposal for a study in the fall over the video series and Bible study on The Chosen. If any of you have seen that, it's captivating. It's a, how did we put that the other night? It's a, not fictional, a dramatized presentation of Jesus and some of his parables and encounters with people in the Bible. So Shannon's developing that, so stay tuned for, yes, Shannon?
Just super briefly, I think most episodes are about 45 minutes, so it'd be, kind of decide, depending on how many people are interested, we can have it here at church. We have this nice big screen TV here now, so we can have it here. If it's just a handful of people, we could rotate houses, or we could host. We'll just all play it by ear, just trying to look at the church calendar, don't want to conflict with other events. And it would be like about a 45-minute watching of it, and maybe 15-20-minute discussion, so it doesn't turn into a long evening. Just basically, what was just, verbatim from scripture, and what did they have to kind of flesh out, bring this character to life that they added to that sort of discussion. So, but hoping to start that soon, before, get through season 1 at least before cold weather hits and it gets dark early and all that good stuff. So,
Thank you, Shannon. Any questions on evangelism? Okay, let's move into parish education. Sue? Sue's giving a verbal report today,
Verbal
which is
report.
fine.
First of all, I just wanted to say VBS was successful. We probably had as many helpers as we did people that attended, and it was great. It turned out really well. At the end of the thing, we did a water slide and water games, and I just want to say everybody that helped out with all the experiments and things, showing the power of God and the wonder of God. We even had a watermelon that was exploded with rubber bands. Pastor touched a little bit about Rally Sunday on August 22nd. We're going to provide, parish education will provide some donuts, muffins, milk, juice, fruit, things like that, just for between early church and Sunday school. And then Sunday school itself will break off into the new classes in September to go with the curriculum. Our new curriculum starts with that first Sunday in September. And that's pretty much it. As far as teachers, we have some set teachers. We've been the same teachers for a long time. So if there is anyone who is interested in teaching or substituting, let me know. Right now we have about 4 subs and 4 regular teachers. So if you're interested, please see me.
Janet?
I'm just commenting a lot today. Not this much, but to add to what Sue said, yes, it's been the same teachers for many years, and I love teaching kids. I really like that 3rd through 5th grade. It's my favorite age group. But just having said that, I don't want anybody to ever have the perception that, like, oh, I own that position, or oh, Shannon wants to do that. None of us are like that. If you have a calling, if you like, man, I want to take a season, a year, or whatever, and I want to teach Sunday school, man, have at it. Approach any of us. We don't own those positions. We're just, I love doing it, but I'm sure I can attest for Sue and Eileen. Maybe we need breaks too, and it'd be fun to be an adult Sunday school class sometimes. But
right.
I just want to throw that out there. If that's a calling for you and you think you would enjoy that, have at it. Approach Sue. Let us know.
We can co-teach. We can
do
quarterly teaching.
I have one comment. I've never had a single complaint said to me about the behavior of the kids too. When they are here, they are angels. So they're really easy to teach these classes. That's all I'm gonna
Because now the adults are a different story.
say. The adults are a lot different story. I have trouble with them every week.
And that was a moment of levity for us. Okay, thank you, Sue. Any questions for Sue? And volunteers? No. Okay. Day school, Cassie. I have have your name wrong
I
on
know,
my
but
thing.
I am not right.
I don't know. Cassie Danielson, news to Alan that she's.
Copy and paste function.
Yes, no brain. Yeah.
So you do have a day school board report. It's very short and sweet. We haven't been open for a while, and it's kind of due to those things that I listed in there, and then added in the COVID pandemic and everything. But you are going to vote to approve the report. You're not voting to actually close it today, though. That is going to be at the next one. So you can mull it around if you want to take it over, and you do think that you can fix those things, because I do not feel comfortable doing those things any longer. So that's part of the reason. So if you know of somebody, or you think that you can take it over and you don't want to close it, then feel free to get with Elaine and myself, and we can definitely move that direction. But that is my proposal. That's how I feel at this moment. But we will do the official voting to close in November.
Pastor.
I just want to speak to this.
Yes.
This isn't just coming from Cassie, by the way. The council has talked about this, and sorry, Danny and I were discussing some things, so I didn't catch this. But what's part of this is that Mustang has, they announced plans to, before COVID, increase their preschool, so basically we would be competing with the school district, and we haven't had it for a couple years. We don't know what it would require to get back up to code, since daycares have to be inspected yearly and get a license yearly, which we don't have right now, and things like that. So there was a lot of factors that were a part of this, and it wasn't just one person, but this was talked about as a council and as a board to bring this recommendation to the congregation. So I don't want you just.
And just many of you know that the school here has a very rich history. It was extremely successful. It went through 3rd grade. I know Linda Danielson taught here. She can attest to the rich history of kids returning saying, I learned everything I knew in school from my days at Christ Lutheran Preschool and early childhood. It's kind of a sign of outgrowing this facility and finding all of the things that Cassie puts in the proposal. So it is not an easy decision, but it's a thoughtful decision that we've arrived at. This will be voted on at the November meeting. So you have time to think about this and discuss it and question it. And I know Mabel has helped enormously in the school as well, and she would also, I'm just going to say she's heartbroken, I'm sure, that this decision has been made. But as a previous preschool superintendent or whatever, it's not something that you want to take on unless you do it well. We had a reputation to maintain, and if you can't do it well, and you can't be safe and all of that, it's just not the right ministry at this time. So that's where we're at with that. So that will come in November, the final vote on that. Any other questions? Okay, young people, Diana. She's the chairman of young people. No, it's the board of young people.
Okay, you have the report, and so I won't bother to recite the whole thing to you, but we did have a meeting for youth and their parents on August 8th. It was a very successful meeting. I think we had a good turnout. There was lunch, and the families got to hear a presentation about the National Youth Gathering that will be in 2022. And also, we talked a little bit about resetting the youth program, adding a junior youth to the senior youth, so it would be more inclusive, and resetting the standards for what the senior youth program would be. I will be getting in touch with parents. I still don't have dates for planning. I'm waiting till Pastor Ross meets with the confirmation kids and their families so that we can sit down and start putting some things together. But I will be getting in touch with the families so that we know where we stand as far as the National Youth Gathering and that we have a commitment there before we proceed with the planning of that, and also with the senior youth to continue on with the plan I presented at that meeting. So that's it.
Any questions for Diana and the Board of Young People? Okay. Alan, on stewardship.
So with stewardship, a couple things we had, last year during the first part of the pandemic, we qualified for the Payroll Protection Program loan. I think it was about $14,000. I got with the bank and we finished wrapping that up, so our loan has been forgiven. The bank got their money from the federal government, so we're good there. That loan's been forgiven. Elaine and I went through our LCF fund just to look through, so we have about 4 or 5 funds that are dedicated just for building fund, designated as that way. We do have another one, it's about $20,000 in the LCF fund, which is dedicated to pastoral scholarships as well, and the youth also has a fund out there, LCF funds as well. That is the big part of the LCF funds. Last year we had one mature in July. We pulled it out when we sat on it just in case we need some additional funding with the HVAC project we did last year, but we had enough gifts and other income that came in to help with that. So instead of reinvesting that right now down into new business, Elaine's gonna talk a little bit more about campus improvement, tidy up. We've decided as a council to send that money right now just in case we need some funds to help cover some of those costs on that part. The only other thing I ask is part of stewardship is working on the yearly budget. So I've asked the boards to have their budgets turned in by October 24th. That'll give me time to compile them, get them together. When Danny submits the elder's budget, that way for council meeting in November, I can present the upcoming budget for 2022. So you can have that budget turned in to me by then in regards to that. So I just asked the other board chairs to review their budgets and have them to me by October 20th. I think 4th or 21st it's in there. So that way we have time. Any questions in regards to the stewardship report at this time? All right, thank you.
I just want to take a editorial moment and thank Alan again for the 5 years he served as president of this congregation. He did a I was almost going to do a whole "this is your life," but I went, okay, that's a little bit too much. And now he's chairman of the Board of Stewardship and an elder, so it doesn't terminally affect you.
There's something else next.
Yeah. So anyway, I appreciate him. He's now a mentor for me in this position, so. Thank you, Alan. And the bad news is there's no gold watch. Sorry. Okay, Greg, trustees. That's a busy group too.
Yeah, we have been busy. Mostly taking care of maintenance items. We've got a large building, a lot of people, and we're, it's not a criticism. We continually have things to work on. And so we've been doing pretty good at attacking those. The only thing I want to add to my report is we are considering a new security system, or at least a vendor for a security system. We're interviewing this week and next week, or next week and the week after, for different vendors, and consider we're going to maybe add some cameras, and so that's the only thing I have to add to my report. So, any questions?
This is the committee that makes sure all of these lights work, and all you got to do is email Greg or let one of us know, and I mean, it's done. It's great. Thank you, Greg, for all you do and all that your group does, because the outside campus looks awesome. Very well taken care of.
Mowers have done a great job.
Yeah. Okay. Asha's not here, but she did say that they helped put on the new member reception with evangelism, and her next potluck will be in November. We're not going to probably have any more potlucks till then. Well, with everything being so in flux, that's kind of the thought process. But there you go. Pastor, do you have anything on public relations?
Trustees saved us thousands of dollars. They finally were able to get through to people that can help us with our sign, and we got it fixed because it had been malfunctioning on part of it, and so the We were considering potentially having to get a whole new sign, which the initial quote was $48,000, and I think we spent $600, so on that. Also, speaking of fixing things, the Sunday I was on vacation, the power cable went out to the camera in there, and so we saved a few $1,000s by being able to get a $10 power cable, and now that camera works. Streaming, doing all that stuff is going well. We're getting good numbers off of that, both locally and around the world for that. That's kind of it. We haven't done a lot of advertising just because the world's kind of crazy right now, and so most of the stuff that we've had, the fellowship events that we have, had been more of church type stuff instead of community based, if that makes sense. They haven't necessarily been outreach stuff, so things to advertise about. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Any
If
questions?
you want to be on the PR board, let me know, because right now it's me and me and me. Yeah. Me, myself, and I.
Okay, Sandy is still out of commission with her leg and ankle, so she submitted her report. It's pretty straightforward, and she just thanks everyone for bringing meals with the 2 funeral meals that were served. Those were well attended and well contributed to, and she really, really appreciates that. She works with Dorothy and Gail, and they coordinate things very beautifully, and so she does want to express her appreciation and thanks for all your generous food offerings and things like that. And Pastor talked about the food pantry, which is sort of under her umbrella, and that's all been cleaned up, cleaned out. It's all organized and in good shape. If you want to bring food, that's fine. Check the dates on your canned goods, make sure that they're still in date, because we don't like to give out out-of-date stuff, so, and, which we don't do. We don't give out-of-date things. There really wasn't, I'd like to entertain a motion now to accept all the board reports as they've been presented.
I'll move that
Dolores.
we accept all the board reports as presented.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Okay, Charlene Truman seconded it. Is there any discussion? Then the motion's been made and seconded to accept all of the board reports as they were presented today. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. They have passed. It has passed. The motion has passed. Some of the things that rolled around in my head were old business to church council, but not old business to you guys. So I just want to briefly go over those 4 items, and Pastor's already talked about item number 3. There are times when I walk in and well, this isn't all about me, but when you have a worship facility, and I know probably some of you have visited other churches, when you walk in, you want to see, you know, a lovely physical plant. And as good stewards, we want to present a lovely physical setting for worship, for fellowship, for our Sunday school children and things. And over time, things can get cluttered. So phase 1 is called Clean Up, Tidy Up. And I tasked the board chairs to clean up the workroom, their spot in the workroom. So that's pretty much been completed. But, there's going to be 4 of us coming up on Tuesday to clean the workroom up. Nellie, that has no counter space. So we're going to clean up things that we don't need, that we can recycle, that we can reuse. Some of the preschool material and Sunday school material are going to go into the busy bags that we give to children on Sunday mornings. And if anyone likes to do that kind of thing, here's what this involves, and I'm going to just take a little bit of time for that. We're using gallon Ziploc bags, and inside some crayons, because we've accumulated crayons over the years. So crayons or markers or pencils and coloring sheets and little pamphlets that we've used in VBS or Sunday school that we're not using anymore, that are available to keep these kids involved and in church and happy, and then they can take those home with them. So if anyone likes to do that kind of thing, and we can show you the materials, and we keep about 10 of them at the back. So if you see a little child that's maybe restless and you know they could use one of those busy bags, take one and give it to them, or know that they're there. And,
On that note,
yeah.
right now, we're putting in everything that's kind of disposable. They can take it home with them, or it can be thrown away, so we don't have to worry about cleaning it back up or somebody else using it.
Yeah, that's why we send them on home. We used to have cloth bags, but now they're all just disposable and they can go home. So, in the next few weeks, we're going to be just picking things up, tidying things up. If it's dated looking, it may possibly be removed. We're going to do the very best not to just willy-nilly throw things away. Perhaps if it's reusable and someone would like it, we might end up having a table that says, here are the things that are no longer going to be displayed. If you want them, you're free to take them. We haven't really fleshed that out, but as you go around, if you are responsible for an area and you see an old flyer or a piece of paper that doesn't need to be there anymore, just take it off. And that's phase 1. We are identifying some people for phase 2, which is to go through our physical plant, mainly this area and the classrooms, not necessarily the sanctuary, and to just give some recommendations and implement some recommendations based on, do we need new paint, do we need new color motif, that kind of thing. So again, most of that's in conjunction with the trustees and what they can do, and any way we can do it as fiscally responsible as possible. So the one thing I just kind of would ask you is, if you use the workroom, if you use it, leave it the way you found it. And this is no, finger wagging, because a lot of times people want to bring things in and they don't know where to put it. So things, accumulate after a while. But we want to give Nellie a good workspace. So if you're not sure where it goes, find somebody that might know where it goes, one of the board chairs or something like that, and let's just keep our physical inside plant. I alluded to how nice the outside looks, and we want this to be a pleasing place as well. So those are going to be some things that are going to happen.
I will say this, on that workroom, we had a few funerals, and so a lot of just extra stuff that was out here just got crammed in there, and it was just extra stuff here. But there's random stuff in there. There's a softball helmet in there that has been in there for a year and a half. So if it's not claimed and lost and found and it's something like that, I will throw it away. So please just poke your head in there and see if maybe you lost something, I don't know, or if you want something and nobody's claimed it, take it home. Rather have a use for it. But yeah, because I use that too also, and right now we've got about 18 square inches of counter space.
On a good day.
On a good day, yeah.
Okay,
Well,
and,
Follow
yes,
that.
of course.
I know there's been out there already said, but we had funeral dinners or something like that, give a dish in the kitchen as well, pick that up and take home with you as well, because even during VBS, we had John and Kelly were doing snacks, had issues in there finding counter space as well. So if you have a dish in the kitchen, please take it home as well.
I think that's kind of been modified too. I think it's a lot cleaner than
It's
it
been
was.
thinning out a little bit, but still.
Can
Yes,
some of that VBS stuff be donated to the food pantry? Because I know it's still sitting where we had it for VBS. I mean, if it's unopened, can we move it?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it could be utilized to any.
The other thing would be,
Inspired.
since a lot of it's individually packaged, it might be good snacks for the kids instead of giving them donuts at Sunday school, goldfish.
Well, yeah, the goldfish and all those would be good to go in the bags.
So
I thought about that too. I didn't want to presume that we knew about allergies, but, I'm sure parents still
Parents
have.
are gonna,
Yeah.
if it's
Sometimes we
something their
put
kid can't have, I surely hope they would
Yeah.
stop
So
that
you're
right
officially
there.
releasing the VBS snacks, right? So I'll pass that on to the food pantry people, and then the busy bags, we'll use them for that. So that sounds, and Sunday morning, sounds good. The last thing that I think that I have other than, I have it in the
Elaine, I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt, I just
Sure.
saw Gay had her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gay. Yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was just gonna say, if those cannot be utilized, I would be happy to take them to school, because our nurse's office always needs snacks for kids.
Okay.
There's a lot of good gluten stuff that I don't think ever got opened up. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, no, we had a great outpouring of.
We got so many donations for
Yeah.
snacks and stuff, it was great.
Thanks, Ariana. Just the social thing is Lutheran Night with Concordia, that the flyer is over there. That's, you know, not an organized thing here, but if you're interested in that, you can look at that flyer and sign up if you want to go to that game. The last thing that I have on the agenda is the prayer chain ministry. It was just sort of a spontaneous launch of a prayer chain ministry here at Christ Lutheran. And it is now under the direction of Pastor Danny and me. So if you have any prayers that you want, like more of an immediate nature, that you wouldn't want to wait till Sunday when those prayers are being offered up, please contact Pastor Danny or me, and we will put them on the prayer chain. We have over 25 people on that prayer chain right now. The genesis of that was, how do I get on the prayer chain? I think that a member asked. And that sort of started because LWML had a prayer chain, well, they had a communication chain. And then when we needed some immediate prayers for a particular situation, we began using it as a prayer chain. Then, how do I get on a prayer chain? And we've kind of bounced this around at church council already. We launched a prayer chain. So I launched it with church council first. Everybody was on board with that. Then I launched it with the LWML group because we wanted to keep the integrity of that communication chain, but have a true prayer chain for only prayer. And so they all came on board. So now I'm letting everyone know, if you want to be on the prayer chain, contact one of the three of us. We'll get you on the prayer chain. The two caveats that you would need to observe is that it is a closed group that regards confidentiality as a high priority, and that as soon as you get the message, that you lift that need up in prayer as soon as you can. Some of the folks on the ministry work, and so there's no response necessary. If you get that prayer request, we're going to assume you've received it. You don't necessarily have to respond that I'm praying or an emoji. I love to see that, but in consideration for folks that don't want their phone exploding up with text message responses, we're trying to keep that to a minimum. Having said all of that, with the resources I have to put you on a prayer chain, it's very limited. It's become actually better because I've got prayer chain 1 of 20 people, because I use a phone that will accept 20 people on a text message, so I can do that quickly. Then the next 20 is being built with prayer chain 2. But we talked at church council that perhaps the best option is to adopt an app, because if you have a phone, you can go to your app store and download a free app called GroupMe, G-R-O-U-P-M-E. This is not launched yet, but I think I'm going to check into that. It is an app that is free, easy to download, and then everything goes on that. And that's when you get whatever notification, however you want to receive the notification from the GroupMe app, and then you'll see the prayer requests there. Because to add someone on the prayer ministry has become, in its infancy, quite labor intensive, and that's the reason we thought this app then has all the comments, then you can respond and you can make your comments on that. So it's under consideration. Pastor.
The other two advantages of that GroupMe app is that it gives you the name of the person. So right now I have roughly 7 to 8 names on my phone, and then 18 phone numbers that I'm guessing at who is this person. And then 2, GroupMe is an app that was developed and owned by Microsoft. So it's not, they're not stealing your data. It's not somebody in China or something like that, but it's Microsoft, whoever. So it's a reputable app. So.
I've used it in another organization, and many of you have told me that you use it as well. So I'll probably relaunch the ministry, the prayer ministry, after I kind of sit down and go through all the how do you do this on GroupMe. But you could still give your names to one of the 3 of us if you want to be on the prayer ministry. Is there anything else that needs to come before this body? I think you guys have been an awesome audience. You've been very respectful and very attentive, and I appreciate that very much, but I am mindful of the time. Is there anything else business-wise that needs to come before this body? And I think we had a quorum, right, Glenda? I meant to ask before if we had a quorum. I think we do. We got a good turnout
I'll
today.
just add that the sign-in sheet is right here, so if you didn't get a chance to sign in.
Sign-in sheet is over here if you didn't get to sign it, so be sure that you're signing.
Somebody put Pastor Ross on there. I don't get to vote, so, but I just want to be marked as here.
Well, because of voting, because,
Well, I don't get to vote.
Well, that's true, but you want to be in good standing.
I
in all
do want to
areas.
be in good standing.
The bylaws say that if you've missed 3 times without an excused absence, you're like taken off the voting roll, so, but everyone here was in good standing, so not to worry.
And this doesn't need to go on the notes, Glenda, so don't worry about this. But one of the reasons like we want to update the bylaws is to, like there was no caveat for like a pandemic. So we're trying to figure out what to do with the pandemic. There's no caveat for if somebody is deployed on service or they're doing their weekend with the Guard, and we have a voters meeting that weekend. So part of updating these bylaws is realizing that you know, if somebody came in and wanted to interpret things in a certain way, they could wipe off really 3/4 of the voters out there and then run a voters meeting, and you know, bad things could happen. So that's just one example, but we realize that there's just things that we need to clean up and things like that. So if you have a passion for reading bylaws, you laugh. Hey, look. Some people have a passion for being an accountant, right? And that's just staring at spreadsheets all day. Okay? Now, if you have a passion for reading through bylaws, helping organizations, you know, somebody actually wrote Robert's Rules of Order, right? Please talk with Vic about getting on that committee, because the first thing is just to highlight things and then ask the board, like, another example, the outreach board, the evangelism board is supposed to have a yearly outreach training. Now, that's a lot of work to do something every single year that you all have to attend. Because if I have to be there, you have to be there. Right?
Are we going to Tulsa?
I got a wedding.
I know.
But so anyway, so there's just things like that you know, like we would kind of need to clean up, to modernize, to realize, you know, what do we do in extenuating circumstances and things like that. So anyway, I hate reading bylaws, so please somebody else.
I think too, it just bears stating that we are all part of the body of Christ, whether it's behind the scenes, up here, running AV material, preaching from the pulpit. We are all members of the body of Christ, and we all serve important functions, whatever we're doing. I just thought, I want to say thank you to the beautiful music during the offering. That was just gorgeous. So things like that. Think about what you do in your spare time. And I know you might laugh and say, I have no spare time, but there are things you can fit into your schedule. And so if you have a passion for one of the things we've talked about today, or you have a new idea, think about it, develop it, you know, talk to us about it. If there is no other business to come before this body, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion that we move for adjournment of the meeting.
You all heard the motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I second.
Pick your poison. The motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nothing. No, I'm sorry. The motion is adjourned. Thank you very much. I appreciate all of your attention. Oh, yes.